Out of the U.S. Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has rejected the Texas-led effort to toss out election results in 4 key states that Joe Biden won. Again, that is a rejection to take up this case. The Supreme Court just issuing that statement. This was, as President Trump called it, the big one, the case that was going to wrap in everything. Trump supporters holding out hope that this could be the case that the Supreme Court would take on its merits and actually argue before the court. That is not happening. Fox News chief legal correspondent, anchor of Fox News at Night, Shannon Bream, tells us what is the decision by the justices. Good evening, Shannon.
Good evening, Brett. We just have a couple of paragraphs, and this is how they spell it out. They say the state of Texas's motion for leave to file a bill of complaint, this state-by-state controversy they wanted to bring to the court directly. It says it's denied for lack of standing. Texas has not demonstrated a judicially cognizable interest in the manner in which another state conducts its elections, saying, you know, Texas was claiming here the way that these 4 other states conducted their elections and changed things at the last minute. Texas accused these states of exploiting the pandemic to change things like witness verification, signatures, voter ID, those kinds of things. The court here basically is saying they don't have a cognizable interest, a legal challenge that we can weigh in on here. Now, there's a statement by Justice Alito. Justice Thomas joins him in this and says, in my view, we do not have the discretion to deny the filing of a bill of complaint in a case that falls within our original jurisdiction. So very few of those cases that go straight to the Supreme Court, but state versus state is one of those things that happens there. They say they grant the motion to file the bill of complaint, but wouldn't grant other relief and don't express their views on other issues. Essentially, what it means here for Texas is that they don't get to move forward. This case is done. You don't have enough. You would have needed 5 justices to move this thing forward. So Texas's last-ditch effort to go after those 4 states and nullify, which essentially would have been, I think, about 39 million votes of other people in those 4 other states. It's not going to happen. The states had all said Texas has no right to do it. And for now, the Supreme Court says this is the end. That case is going nowhere. We're not going to get involved, and Texas essentially does not have what they need here, which is a cognizable interest, and they have a lack of standing. So the case is done. This is it, Brett.
Yeah, that was the big one. Let's bring in Jonathan Turley, professor at George Washington University Law School. Shannon, stand by if you would. Jonathan, we talked earlier this week about the Pennsylvania case that the Supreme Court did not take up and decided to not move forward with, to essentially hear that case, forecasting perhaps that they really were not in this on these cases. However, this how it's written does not foreclose any other pending or future election case coming before them. There are a few more irons in the fire, but the electors vote on the 14th.
Right. And so we're right on the eve of that vote. This is very similar to what happened in the Pennsylvania case. The White House was only able, and Texas was only able to secure 2 justices, and that was primarily on technical grounds that they had to really hear this case. Not because of the merits, but because of how it came before the court. Obviously, the other justices, 7 of them disagreed even on that point. And so this is as dead as Dillinger. And the question is, can these other remaining cases still have a chance to make a difference? Tonight, we also had word out of the Wisconsin Supreme Court that they will review a challenge in that state. But that is just one state. And we are now not only running out of runway, we're running out of time.
Yeah. Shannon, bring you back into this conversation as well. Running out of time, but also, as Jonathan points out, you need to have multiple states for the president to essentially take those electoral votes away from Joe Biden, and they are going to vote on Monday. They're supposed to.
And that was the whole goal with Texas, going after big ones that would have really helped the president: Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. So it was very targeted. It was very smart to go after those states, which all of those electoral votes, had they flipped to President Trump, obviously would have changed everything. So now we do have these state level challenges. There's one in Georgia that was filed in state court that folks think has some life to it. But again, that takes a lot of time to proceed through the state court system. Wisconsin's Supreme Court has announced that they're going to hear They're skipping the appellate level there in Wisconsin. They will actually hear oral arguments tomorrow, noon local time there in Milwaukee, to move forward with a case in Wisconsin. So those are two critical key states. But as for Texas trying to go after 4 states at once, that math is not going to happen, because this case, as Professor Turley has said, this is the dead end for it. So now we're left with these collection of state cases. They're also running out of time and out of the landing space, as Professor Turley has said, but they are still active.
Yeah, let's bring in Kristen Fisher at the White House. Kristen, the president had put a lot of eggs in this Texas basket. He talked about it a number of times, including at a Christmas party at the White House, saying this was the big one. Your thoughts about what's going to be the reaction out of the White House? He's tried the state legislatures. It has not worked. These cases seem to have stopped. There's a few more, as we mentioned, but this was the one that he talked about a lot.
Yeah, as you just said, this is the one that he called the big one. Brett, I'm really watching the president's Twitter feed right now, because he has tweeted at least twice today about this case, really putting a lot of pressure on the Supreme Court, and perhaps particularly those 3 Supreme Court justices that he appointed to the high court. He said, he tweeted to them today, to do the right thing, to have courage, have wisdom. He even told them to save the United States of America. So President Trump has really made it no secret that he thought the Supreme Court should take up this case, but now this is definitely another legal blow for the president, his legal team, his campaign, and his efforts to overturn the outcome of this election. And now you have the Electoral College meeting on Monday, but Brett, it really remains to be seen how much further President Trump intends to go, because as of today, he has tweeted multiple times about this, so we will see. But as of now, no response officially from the White House, the president, or his legal team just yet. But we're watching it, Brett.
Yeah, and obviously the politics of all this, as the Georgia runoffs, there's still the Senate control hanging in the balance on January 5th, and how that plays, all of this in that is very important. Last word, Jonathan Turley, on this. It seemed like these legal challenges, some of them constructed in a way that some of the judges, at least when they looked at them, said, I need more meat on the bone as far as evidence that the votes were stolen or fraudulent.
That's right. This Wisconsin appeal to the Supreme Court, which is skipping an appellate stage, does look at these concrete allegations. There's about 221,000 ballots that are being challenged in 2 largely Democratic counties. But with this decision, it's hard to see, even if that was successful, that it would make any difference, obviously, with the balloting coming. Part of the problem, I think, that we're seeing is that many of these cases are being thrown out on standing or procedural grounds. And there are a lot of voters out there who believe that this election was not fairly done, and they don't feel like the evidence has been scrutinized. So I think the Supreme Court decision is going to fuel that objection, because this was made as a threshold procedural issue. Texas simply cannot sue to get other states to change their view of their own laws or practices.
But Jonathan, the fact that they're not even moving forward to hear it suggests that, does it not, that the Supreme Court is kind of laying down a marker that you have to get over this certain point in order, not just on standing for Texas, but on the Pennsylvania case as well?
That's right. I mean, these were not close calls for the Supreme Court. The Pennsylvania case didn't have a single dissenting justice and was dismissed 40 minutes after that last brief was filed. So these are really troubling developments for the Trump legal team. They've never found terra firma in any of these cases. They've never been able to really move this litigation forward. But this is a huge blow, because the president obviously has been talking about it. There are 6 conservatives on the Supreme Court, 3 Trump appointees, and they don't have animus towards the president. The majority obviously does not have that animus. The Republican appointees, 3 of them were appointed by him. They just don't see the law here. They don't see the credible legal argument. And that's why this came out the way it did.